Okay, we are going to dive into percents. I kind of told y'all at the beginning when we started talking about rate and unit rate, how excited I was about this unit. How many of y'all like to go shopping? Me? How many of you like to find a really good deal? I wish I could sit here and tell you that I was one of those people that like went and looked for the sales rack first. I'm not. I'm the one that, well, if I'm shopping, I am there for a purpose. Like, I know exactly what I'm looking for, and it's get in and get out. However, when we start talking about percents, we start talking about when stuff is 25% off or 50% off. A percent also has to do with mortgage rates and savings accounts and how much money you're going to earn. So we're going to talk about all of those things. You are going to notice that there's going to be a shift in some vocabulary, but the words are going to be similar. It's just, I want you to kind of think about a word, a vocabulary word. You can have one meaning, but then you can also dig deeper into that word, and there are words that mean specific things, right? Okay. So we're going to continue to talk about rate and ratios, okay? But now we're going to dig a little bit deeper, okay? We're going to use a ratio to express a proportion. So let's dive into that. So two equal ratios are also called a proportion. So why am I introducing this new word proportion? Well, here's why. Because in math, the academic term proportion is one that you're going to see a lot more than you're going to see ratio. Okay? Remember, a ratio is used to compare two quantities, right? Well, as you move through math and you get into algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, trig, and calculus, you start to see this idea of proportion. So if one train is 4 feet long, but another train is 8 feet long, it's going to help you start to compare different things. All right. But remember, proportions are just like ratios. They're still equal. Okay. So you can use a proportion to solve for a missing value x in two ways. The first way is to determine the scale factor. Okay? The second way is to use a one-step equation. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of a one-step equation. So if I have 8 over let's say 56 equals x over let's go 64. That works. So how I do this, I'm going to give you the two steps. The first step is you cross multiply. So to cross multiply, I'm going to multiply the denominator of one number by the numerator of another of the other ratio, and then I do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Now, 56 times x. That's kind of hard. So x is an unknown number, right? So if I multiply, it means I'm going to repeat something, correct? So if I repeat x 56 times, what would I have? I would have 56x. Because I don't know what it is. But I know that it would be 56 times x, correct? Then I do 64 times 8. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you can use your calculator for this. Let's see, Miss Barnes can't even use the calculator right this morning. 64 times 8 is what? Y'all should, are there calculators at your tables? 5 what? It's 512. Y'all can grab a calculator if you need one. Well, you're going to need one, so go ahead and grab it. Okay, so while you're walking, you're also going to be listening. So, my next step is to divide by the coefficient. And that's a big math word. And the coefficient is the number that is with the x. And so 56 divided by 56 is 1. So all I'm left with is x. Okay? Now here's where, let's see if Miss Barnes' math is mathing. No, it's not. So x equals, when I divide, it's going to equal 9.14. This is what happens when Miss Barnes creates a math problem on the fly. It's okay. These other 3 examples are much better. Huh? You say 512 divided by 56. And that gives you 9.14. Huh?
Is it 100 million numbers?
Well, no, not exactly, but there's more than 2. Okay, so now let's look at number 1. I'm going to walk you through 1, then you're going to walk me through 1. Okay? So I circle what I'm going to cross multiply. 9 times x is 9x. And then I'm going to cross multiply 8 times 81. And 8 times 81 is?
641. 8. 648.
648. And now I divide by my coefficient, right? Because that's what my answer, that's what my direction said. I cross multiply and then I divide by the coefficient. So 9x divided by 9 and 648 divided by 9.
72.
So x equals what? X equals 72. Very good. Okay, let's look at number 2. Amani, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Cross multiply. I always cross multiply with my variable first. So I would say 4 times x, which is what, Amani? 4 times x. 4 what? You want me to leave you alone for a minute? Okay. Who can tell me what to do next? Allie. I'm going to cross multiply. What am I going to multiply, Allie? Correct. And what is 7 times 32, Allie? Don't guess. Use your calculator, baby. Hey y'all, when I tell you to use your calculator, don't just leave it sitting there and staring at it. Use it.
224.
Huh?
224.
224. Allie, are you ready for me to leave you alone for a minute? Okay. Kinley, put your hand down. Okay, now Amelia, tell me, what do I do next? What do your notes say you do after you cross multiply, Amelia?
Divide by the coefficient.
Divide by the coefficient. So what am I going to divide by, Amelia?
9. Because 7.
What's the coefficient?
224 by 9. That's 7. Oh.
Do you know what the coefficient is? The coefficient is always the number with the variable.
Oh.
So what do I divide by?
24 by 5. 4. 224 divided by 4.
But if I do it to one side, I have to do it to,
The other.
I have to do it to both sides. So what do I have? X equals what?
Miss Barnes,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have Chloe Caples?
No, ma'am.
Do you know where she's at? She was on my list. It shows that she was put in your room.
Okay, then that means she's in Miss Stringer's room, Miss Delaney. They're traveling with our homerooms.
Oh, okay. So she's in Stringer.
Yes, ma'am. Do you
Okay,
need?
thank
Do
you so
you
much.
need her? We shall move on. X equals what?
56.
Tell me, Jaden. X equals 56. Excellent work. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you sure? Do number 3. I don't think you can do it in 30 seconds or less. I know. I might have meant it that way. Not really. I'm kidding. Go. 30 seconds. And it better not just be a number on that paper. You better have it set up. You got 10 seconds. Stop. Shh. If you don't put your hand down. I didn't ask if you got it. I'm kidding. I am glad you got it though. I understand. Okay, I'm gonna ask somebody to be gutsy and brave. Who thinks that they got it wrong? Who's unsure about their answer? Talk to me, Braylon. What's the first thing I'm gonna do?
Cross multiply 240 and x.
Okay, and what does that give me?
240x.
Correct. Then what did you do, Braylon?
Cross multiply 20 and 80. 180.
And what did that give you?
360.
Just 360? Double check it on your calculator.
We have 600.
3,600. Okay, good deal. Now what?
Divide the
Divide, you're right. Talk to me. Is this where you get stuck? Okay, fantastic. That's where you get stuck. Hey, guess what? You got 90% of the problem right. Somebody else that hasn't been sure before. Jaden, talk to me.
I basically did the same thing. Did the same thing he did, but I got a little bit farther.
Okay, tell me how much farther you got.
So I divided it by 3,600 by 20. I got 180.
Okay, tell me, why did you choose to divide it by 20?
Because I thought it was gonna be the
Okay, remember the coefficient. Somebody help him out. Where's his misunderstanding? Asa, talk to me.
He divided by 20 because he thought that on whenever you're like the multiplying, he thought you were supposed to divide by that, but you're supposed to divide by the coefficient, which is 240.
Right. So your thought process was great, but once you cross multiply here, this number is your coefficient. Okay, and that's the number you're going to divide by. So I'm going to divide by 240. Okay, who can take it from there? Soraya, what are you doing? Are you writing down these notes? You're piddling with whatever all that is. What do I do? Everybody just hang on a minute. Nadia.
You divide 240 and 3,600 by 240, and you get 15.
Correct. Good job.
I have a question on this. What if you just divide it, like on number 2, it's 4 over 7. What if you just divide it 32 by 4? And then whatever you get from that, multiply it by 7. Then you get the same thing.
Yes. That would be finding the scale factor.
Oh.
Yes. You can do it that way. If you don't understand what he's talking about, don't worry about it. Just ignore him.
Oh.
Yes, you picked it up. That's how my Winton solves all these problems. But I will tell you, you need to make sure that you know how to do it this way, because when you get to upper level math, if you're not setting it up like this, it becomes very difficult to visualize, okay, what two things are the same. Like Winton right now is having to do proportional reasoning with triangles and angles, and it's been very hard because he's a mental math person. Like he can look at that and put it in the calculator and tell you the answer. But when he's having to try to find, okay, this is the same as this, and this is the same as this, it's very difficult to do that without creating the proportions. Does that make sense? So, I mean, for me, you'll be fine doing it that way. Yeah, but you need to know how to set up the proportion for moving forward for your base in math. Okay? So how do I use proportions to actually find percents? Okay? A percent is a part to whole ratio where the whole is always 100. Right? I want you to think about your test grade. You always want to make a what percent on your test? A 100. Exactly. Each percent can be modeled on a 10 by 10 grid and can also be written as a proportion. Remember, a proportion is another word for a what? Another word for a ratio. You can use a proportion to solve the problem where this, I want you to box this part. I want you to put a star by this part. This right here is what you need to program into your brain. If you ever see a problem that asks you for a part of a number or a percent, these are the two ratios. This is the proportion that you are going to set up every single time. Percent over 100, because 100 is the total what? The whole is always what? 100. All right? All right, let's look at number 4. I'm going to shade these in because, well, we all know the shading does not pick up well on the copy machine. Okay. I would love to tell you that you're always going to have a tape diagram. You're not. When you see these on the ACAP and you're in the store, you're going to have numbers. Okay. So we're going to walk through these to help you visualize it. But I want you to know what we look at on the back page is realistically what you're going to see. Okay. So this is great information. However, when I set one of these up, I always go back to this and I always put that 100 in. Okay? So I'm given the 100. What other percent am I given on this tape diagram? 20. So I plug the 20 in. Well, this is going to be the whole or the total. And this is going to be the part. So what part am I given? 30. Do I know the whole? No. So it's going to be X. Now you have a proportion set up, right? So now what do? I cross multiply. So I have what? 20x equals what? Equals 3,000. I'm running out of room. And then what do? Which is? I divide by 20. Which leaves me with what? X equals what? Okay. All right, number 5. I'm going to set it up, or I'm going to start it. Go.
Miss Barnes,
Yes, ma'am.
you have Mary Jane, right? Goldwater.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she needs to check out, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Y'all are the best because I was so about to say, I don't know. It goes over there, baby. Thank you. Okay, who thinks they can talk me through it? Okay, now who thinks they can't talk me through it? Come on, Selena. I mean, where did I get Selena from? Aaliyah. Correct.
And then the part is, the whole is 48, so you would put that on the right bottom.
Correct.
And then above that would be an X.
Correct.
And then after that, I kind of just got lost.
Okay, so now what do you have? You have a proportion, right? Okay, so now I go back to what I was doing up here, which is what? I can use scale factor, or I can solve it as a one-step equation, and I can, what are my 2 steps to that? Correct. Cross multiply and divide by the coefficient. So somebody help me. How do I do that? Or do you want to keep going? Okay, who wants to help? Who have I not talked to today? Come on, Brody. You about to die.
You cross multiply 100 and x, which gives you 100x. Then you cross multiply 25 and 48, which gives you 1,200. And then you divide by the coefficient, and you get x equals 12.
Now, does that make sense? So can I come back in here and plug 12 in? Yes. So 12 plus 12 would be what right here? 24. And 24 plus 12 would be 36. And 36 plus 12 would be 48. Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, we ready? All right, now let's look at the back. Oh, it's not bad. Okay, now here is where this is what you will see on your test, and this is what it will look like on ACAP. I want you to automatically go, okay, when you see the word percent, I want you to go, I got this. You're going to create a proportion, right? What's the denominator of my first ratio? 100. What goes on the top?
20. Wait, no, 14.
X.
I don't want you to give me numbers out of that. I want you to tell me what, in our formula, what goes up here? The percent, correct. What goes over here? The part, and what is the bottom? The whole. Okay, so now, what percent of 20 is 14? Do you have a percent? No, so I have to put X. Am I given a part?
Yes.
What is the part? 14. And what is the whole? 20. Now what do I do? I cross multiply. What do I cross multiply? Siri, talk to me. Zuri, talk to me. Sorry. Look, and today, anyway, go ahead.
You cross multiply 20 and x, which gives you 20x, and then cross multiply 14 and 100, and it's 1,400. And then you put the coefficient, which is 20, and then you divide 140 divided by 20, which is
140?
1,400 divided by 20, which is 7.
Is what?
7, so x is 7.
Okay. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. If you ever get a percent, well, I better not say that. I am going to say that. If you get a percent that is over 100, but this part is not larger than the whole, it's wrong. Okay? All right? Now, I am doing study hall tonight. I am not going to give you a separate homework sheet. So for homework, I need you, or for classwork / homework, you're going to complete numbers 7 through 15. This is what I want to see. When Braden and I were talking, and Braden said, this is where I get stuck, that's where I want you to stop. If you get stuck and you know, I don't know what to do next, stop. Go to the next problem. Now, does that mean that you're going to walk into this classroom tomorrow and your paper's going to be blank? No. Because you can take your paper and you can turn it over and go, okay, this is what I do first, right? Because remember, I told you, all of these are going to start where?
Like that.
Like that. All right? Got it? Now, here's what we're going to do. Today, I want you to show me what you can do. All right? Tomorrow, I have another sheet where you're going to get to work with a partner. Okay? You're going to get to help say, oh, okay, remember this is what Ms. Barnes said. We did this and we did that. And then I'll be pulling small groups too. Okay?
Okay.
All right?